Well, Todd, you haven't been in this position for a long time where you've lost a game, and even the game you did lose this year, you had a chance to win it and could have won it. What's the feeling after a loss? What do you take out of it?
I think we've been pretty good for a while, but whether we rolled into the game or we certainly didn't adjust early. Made some silly mistakes which allowed them to score early, and then we're sort of playing catch up. So look, they were probably much better at and harder at the footy than us for the majority of the game. But I thought our boys, in the second half, hung in there and kept fighting. But at the end of the day, I think the scoreboard is a pretty good reflection of the game.
They'd played in a really wet game 2 weeks earlier too, and they'd played well in that against Perth. You hadn't played in a really wet game for this year, really, in terms of it being that wet. Did that mean it took a bit longer for you to adjust to it, or did that have any impact?
Maybe, I don't know. But look, we made a lot of simple skill errors, drop marks, didn't adjust to the conditions. Even right to the end, there was still some mistakes that were being made that were just not adjusting to the conditions. So, but look, we've got a lot of young guys playing, a lot of guys that haven't played much footy, so that's to be expected against a really experienced group. So our guys will learn a lot.
Well, that's what we've been talking about all year. You've got so many young guys, and I guess if Subi's great strength is anything, it's that they've got so many senior hard bodies, and when it's wet like that, that's when I guess they come to the fore. And sometimes if you're a bit bigger and harder around the footy, that can make all the difference.
Oh, look, they were certainly probably harder and cleaner around the ball. We've sort of fumbled and handballed and went to ground. So look, there's some really good learnings for a lot of our guys. So, but we were a long way below our best. I didn't think they were probably at their best either, but they were much better than us.
Do you learn a lot from a loss at this point of the season, given you've been playing so well for so long, and maybe the guys were thinking they can just keep going at how they were and everything will be fine? Do you learn a lot now from a loss? Is there some things that you can teach that might be harder to teach when you're on a winning run?
Oh, look, we review every game, so it doesn't matter whether we win or lose. We still review it exactly the same. So there'll be obviously more opportunities to learn, I would think, from a game like this. So, but if someone had said you'd be 8-2 in the mid part of the year, with a lot of youth and a lot of senior guys that have missed a bit of footy, we would have certainly taken it. So look, we've set ourselves up really well. It's we weren't good enough today, but we'll bounce back and get in Monday and review the game, and then start preparing for next week.
You never want to play a game without Brock when it's I guess not an injury situation, but Zach showed that he was a pretty handy substitution today. I don't think he could have done much more for you, and I don't think he didn't hardly come off the game. I don't know if he missed a stoppage, throw up or ball up around the ground at all. He was pretty massive for you.
Oh, look, I think the great thing about Zach is he gives you his all the time. So look, today was no exception. We would have loved to have Brock available and been able to leave Zach forward, but that was our availability. So it was really wet, so we decided that we probably would have gone with almost a smaller team anyway. But we got beaten around the ball, which gave them some really good opportunities. We made some really simple errors, I thought, that gave them scoring opportunities. And look, they were much better. They deserved their win.
Have you come through unscathed from a health-wise? A game like that, it's always a danger that you get some injuries.
Well, I think that sort of game's always a bit more, crash and bang and contest. So the guys will be a bit sore and a bit heavy. It was pretty wet at the end, so but we'll recover. And I think from all reports at this stage, I think we should have everyone available next week.
That means you're pretty close to full strength. Obviously, Buick's out at the moment. Outside of that, are you pretty much full strength?
Yeah, McIntosh's been back, so he played another one in the twos today, so he'll be ready, which is great for us. Collard's back training, Vanderleur's back, so he shouldn't be too far away. And hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Blaine Johnson will be in a position where he should be up and ready to go. So there's certainly some boys to come back, but they won't. I don't think there'll be too many of them available next week, but that's okay. We'll put the 22 out there, and they'll play their role. And we certainly didn't have an even contribution today, and we rely on that to play well.
Thoughts on the Eagles next week? Is it any different preparing for them, aside from a normal waffle team? Do they create any sort of different sort of challenges?
It's probably more about preparing your own group. I think the way they play, you can you can prepare for that, but in terms of who's actually going to play, it's really hard. So we'll concentrate on ourselves and how we want to play. We'll watch how we think they want to play as a team, and then you find out the personnel later.
Is it tricky when your reserves can't play? Will you get some of those guys that you talked about, like a Blaine Johnson, who needs some footy, to play somewhere else next week? Is that the plan, or will you try to run them, through some simulation drills, or how do you sort of approach it for your reserves group?
Yeah, they'll train a bit harder. They'll have a session over the weekend, so there's some guys that can play if we can get them a game elsewhere. But obviously it's an opportunity to sort of freshen and train as well. So we'll sit down Monday and work it all out.
No, thank you.
All good. Thank you.